So, the robot revolution. Is it going to help us or hinder us? We hear all this hype, right? Well, today, we're going to get right through it. We're looking at the cold, hard numbers, the economic logic that's actually reshaping our world, right now. So let's dive in.
Okay, first off, just to get a sense of the scale here, check this out. Right now, as we speak, there are about 4.6 million industrial robots working around the globe. And listen, that's not some wild guess about the future. That's today. That's the reality on the ground.
So yeah, this isn't some sci-fi movie that's coming out next year. This is totally mainstream. It's here, and it is already changing, well, pretty much everything.
All right, so here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to start with the machine's cold calculation. Then we'll get into the great job swap. And finally, we'll look at the new global rules.
So, what is really pushing this whole revolution forward? I mean, yeah, the tech is cool, but that's not the whole story. At its core, it's all about some pretty brutal and, frankly, undeniable economic logic. Just look at this comparison. For a company, a human worker means a salary, breaks, sleep, and, let's be honest, our performance can be a little up and down. But a robot, it's a one-time cost, and then it just works 24/7. No breaks, no sick days, just consistent, predictable performance.
And this really cuts to the chase, you know? It's not personal, it's just math. The more expensive people get, the more attractive robots become. It's a simple, powerful equation.
Just how powerful is that equation? Well, get this. The typical return on investment for one of these robots is only 12 to 18 months. I mean, just think about that for a second. After a year, maybe a year and a half, that machine has totally paid for itself. From that point on, it's basically free labor. So for a lot of companies, the question isn't if they should automate, it's how fast can we possibly do it?
So really, what you've got is a perfect storm. First, labor is just getting more expensive. Second, finding skilled people's getting tougher and tougher. Something like 80% of companies are struggling with this. And third, the tech is finally there. Thanks to AI, these aren't just dumb mechanical arms anymore. They can actually make decisions.
Okay, so this economic logic, this perfect storm, it obviously has a huge human side to it. So what does this all mean for our jobs? Are we looking at pure destruction, or is it more of a transformation?
All right, let's just rip the Band-Aid off. The World Economic Forum projects that 92 million jobs are going to disappear because of this. 92 million. That is a massive, massive number. And behind that number is real disruption for millions and millions of people.
But wait, here's the twist. Those same forces are expected to create 170 million new jobs. So you do the math, that's a net gain of almost 80 million jobs. So awesome, problem solved, right? Well, it's not quite that simple.
And this is the big catch. It's not like a simple upgrade, you know? It's not like a factory worker just smoothly transitions to being a robot supervisor. No, it's more like a brutal replacement. The new jobs being created in AI, in green tech, in data, they require a completely different skill set than the jobs that are vanishing. And that creates this enormous challenge of how do you retrain an entire workforce?
What's happening is something called job polarization. And it's basically squeezing the middle. See, the high-skill, high-paying jobs in tech, those are growing. And the low-skill, lower-paying service jobs, those are growing too. But it's those jobs right in the middle. Admin stuff, routine factory work. You know, the very backbone of the middle class, those are the ones getting hollowed out.
And look, this whole thing isn't just about individual jobs. It goes way bigger than that. It's rewriting the rules for our whole society, and even changing the balance of power between countries.
To really get where this is all going, there's this idea called the Baumol effect. Basically, it says that as robots and AI get super efficient at jobs like manufacturing, humans will naturally move into the jobs that robots are, well, bad at. Stuff that needs a real human touch, you know? Like in the service industry.
So what does this actually mean for you and me? Well, it means the robots and the AIs are going to handle the high productivity stuff like factories and crunching numbers. And us humans, we're going to be more and more needed in jobs that demand empathy, creativity, personal interaction. Think about things like healthcare, taking care of the elderly, education. Basically, the soft skills become the human jobs.
But this brings up a really interesting paradox. Okay, so production gets way cheaper thanks to robots. Does that mean we'll actually pay less for things? I mean, in theory, we should, right? But what happens if only a few mega companies own all the robots? They might not have much competition, which means they could just keep prices where they are and pocket all those savings themselves.
And this is where it gets geopolitical. This isn't just about companies anymore. It's about countries. Look at this chart. China is installing almost 10 times more industrial robots every year than the US. This is a full-on strategic race. The goal? To control the future of manufacturing. It creates a massive domino effect. Either your country automates or your entire industrial base gets left in the dust.
All right, that was a lot to take in, I know. So let's wrap this up. Let's boil everything down to the key takeaways you really need to remember about this whole robot revolution. Okay, here are the 5 big ones. First, the math is simple. For a business, a robot pays for itself in about a year, making it an incredible investment. Second, jobs aren't just vanishing. They're being brutally replaced by new jobs that need totally different skills. Third, the middle class is getting hit the hardest, with those middle-skill jobs being the most at risk. Fourth, just because production gets cheaper doesn't automatically mean things will get cheaper for you. And finally, number 5, this is a global race. The countries that own the robots will basically own the future. So all of this leaves us with some pretty heavy questions to think about. And let's start with one just for you. Why should a company hire you if a robot can do the job almost for free? What's the thing that makes you uniquely valuable?
Now let's zoom out. What happens to our whole society when human labor just isn't needed as much? I mean, our entire system is pretty much built on the idea of work. What happens when that foundation starts to crack?
And that brings us to the ultimate question, the big one. Is all this technology leading us to a future where work becomes optional, a kind of utopia where we're all free to pursue our passions? Or is it leading us to a future where finding meaningful work is just impossible for most people? That's really the two-sided coin, the big choice this whole revolution is forcing us to make.